You want an affordable, efficient, and reliable car to get around in, and it doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. And the Nissan Sentra isn't perfect, but it could be perfect for you. We're the right people to ask because we know these cars well. Edmunds drives, tests, and rates hundreds of cars each year. As trusted experts, we've teamed up with CarMax to help you make the best car buying decision. This is the 8th generation Nissan Sentra. It is a compact sedan and one of Nissan's most affordable models. It's a step up in size from the tiny Nissan Versa and a step below the mid-size, family-friendly Nissan Altima. You can think of it as Nissan's alternative to the Honda Civic or the Toyota Corolla. The Sentra has a big price advantage compared to the competition. On average, a Sentra can cost as much as $5,000 less compared to a similarly equipped used Honda Civic. That means for the same money you'd spend on a car like that, you can get a nicer, newer Sentra. But value doesn't really matter if you're spending a bunch of time and money at the shop or if crash test ratings aren't really good. We use Repair Pal for reliability ratings. They're an independent reliability tracker, and the Sentra gets an above average 4 out of 5 stars. So out of all 36 compact cars, the Sentra ranks 14th for its annual repair costs, repair frequency, and the likelihood of a repair having to address a major issue. Now, that's definitely above average, but the Civic and the Corolla rank higher, 1st and 3rd respectively. So for repairs, the Sentra will cost you about $130 more per year than those cars. The Sentra does pretty well in crash testing too. Models with a premium package that adds better headlights earned IIHS top safety picks from 2020 to 2022, but lost that rating as the criteria became stricter in later years. To be clear, the 2023 to 2025 cars didn't perform any worse in crash testing. They just don't get their award because the qualifications changed. Every Sentra gets a 5-star overall crash test rating from NHTSA. We know the Sentra is affordable, relatively reliable, and gets pretty good crash test ratings. But what is it like to live with? Let's go over the reasons why you might pick or pass on the Sentra. One thing I really like in here, comfort. Across all our testing, we noticed that Nissan does a great job at seats across their entire lineup. And even though the Sentra is one of their cheaper options, these seats feel great. Good padding, good support, and plenty of space up here. It's comfortable to use too. We've tested plenty of vehicles with huge touchscreens, and yeah, they look great, but in our experience, they can be a pain to use with functions buried in the menus. A physical setup like this, with easily accessible knobs and buttons, is way better. Everything's easy to find and within reach. There's no learning curve here like in some newer cars. There's even a button down here to turn off auto start stop. That feature that shuts off the engine to save a tiny bit of gas at stoplights. We've read so many comments and owner reviews across all types of vehicles where people talk about how much they hate that feature and turn it off. So we always appreciate when we see a physical button like this. Now that comfort extends to the back seat too. And like all compact cars that we review, it's really hard to seat 3 across the back. It's a bit of a squeeze. You know, these cars aren't very wide, but the seats themselves are really cushy and nicely contoured. Taller passengers may wish for a little more headroom, but there's enough for most folks. Another thing we like about the Sentra over other cars we've tested, fuel economy. There is no fancy hybrid system, yet the Sentra still easily gets over 30 miles per gallon and nearly 40 miles per gallon on the highway. And what's even better is that it only costs around $36 to fill up the tank, according to national average fuel prices. The fuel economy numbers go down a teeny bit if you get the Sentra SR. Now that version's bigger wheels have a slight impact on efficiency, but not so much that you'd notice the difference. The Civic is a teeny bit more efficient, but only by a couple miles per gallon. If you drive 15,000 miles a year, the cost difference using that national average only comes out to around $8 a month. It's worth noting that if you want the most efficient compact sedan, the Toyota Corolla Hybrid gets over 50 miles per gallon. But when you look at the prices of those cars, they'll cost you thousands more than a Sentra of the same year. And for us, that math doesn't really add up. But as much as we like the Sentra, especially on the used market, considering how much more affordable it is than some of its competitors, there are some not so great things you should know about it before you buy one. For one, this tech isn't great. The touchscreen is laggy, and the graphics felt dated even when the Sentra was new. Plus, this is just our own personal experience, but when we had the Sentra for 2 weeks to review it when it was new, the screen fully crashed twice. That is not good. We have a couple of tips to improve things. First, if you're looking at 2020 models and you care about Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, make sure you go for the mid-level SB or higher SR trim levels. Nissan made it standard in 2021, but for that first year, you only get it if you choose one of the higher trims. If you can, make sure to go for at least one step above that base Sentra S. I mean, the base model only has one USB port. Second, skipping the base model also gets you this 1-inch bigger touchscreen that you see right here. And if you go with the range-topping SR trim with the premium package, that'll add a Bose sound system and a surround view camera. Now, that last feature will look a little blurry compared to better modern systems, but it's still a really nice feature to have that we don't really see a lot on the compact sedans that we get in for testing. And as much as we like the fuel economy, there are still a couple of things that are not so great about the way the Sentra drives. First of all, we test every single car that comes into the Edmunds garage, which means that we use our own equipment and get our own numbers for things like acceleration and braking. The Sentra's performance when it comes to braking? Subpar. To measure braking, we simulate an emergency stop by getting up to 60 miles per hour and slamming on the brakes, measuring how many feet it takes for the car to stop. In the Sentra, we measured 130 feet, 10 feet more than we recorded in a Honda Civic. That's basically half a car length. Now, we also haven't been impressed with the Sentra's driver assist tech. In our testing, and based on user reviews, the automatic emergency braking can brake when there isn't actually an emergency sometimes, which can be jarring. The Sentra's backup camera looks super blurry too. Look, this is a practical daily commuter. It doesn't need to be fun or fast, but things like lower than average braking performance and limited driver assist are definitely things that you should consider. So, it's affordable, pretty reliable, gets great crash test ratings, comfy, and efficient. But the driving and the tech isn't as good as a lot of other cars we've tested. So, what do you think? Could the Sentra fit your lifestyle, or are you gonna look elsewhere? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.